First of all, Tigress, I love your name.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that you're a self-proclaimed fat activist, and just in case anybody's flipping through channels and objects at home at me using that term, you prefer the term fat versus overweight. Why?
I do, and folks who are fat activists do, because we believe that fat should just be a neutral descriptor, the same way you would describe someone as brunette, or you would describe me as a person with glasses or freckles. And so we like to use the word whenever possible. We do recognize that for many people, the word carries a lot of trauma because of the way it has been used against them. But we think the best way to alleviate some of that trauma is to use the word in a neutral or even affirmative way.
You know, I learned something besides that. I learned something in preparing to chat with you. Physical appearance, except for skin color and hair styles with the passage of the Crown Act in some places, is not a protected class. So how would you prove that you're being discriminated against because of weight or height?
It's incredibly hard to prove, and we get asked this question a lot, but often you might be surprised by how blatant employers or landlords are in just saying, like, I don't want to deal with fat people. I'm not going to do that. So sometimes they give you the proof pretty easily. But of course, that still ends up in a sort of he said, she said kind of situation. But what we know is that it's even harder to prove discrimination in court when there's no explicit law about the thing that you are being discriminated against. In other words, when there's nothing in the law that delineates that size discrimination is a problem, then people who are victims of size discrimination are just subjected to whether or not the courts or the commissions that oversee these laws see their issues as serious civil rights issues. When it's delineated in the law, then it's more clear that this is an expectation that we have as a jurisdiction, that people are treated fairly in this regard. And so it does make it a little bit easier.
Well, what do you say to those who are, they've seen how many plus size models there are, how much more accepting we are as a culture of larger sized performers? You mentioned that you had your aunties in the neighborhood where you grew up being the Lizzos of your community. We all know who Lizzo is and how proud she is to show her body, and it's not a size 2. So, I mean, doesn't that signal a far more fat acceptant society?
Well, there has been some shift in mindset, and we've seen some research that that shows that there's shifting mindset. There's mixed research about size discrimination as an attitude, right? There are still lots of folks who report discriminatory attitudes towards fat people, and what we're concerned with here is discriminatory behaviors. So when you think of someone like Lizzo as an entertainer, first of all, she's rare, even in the world of entertainment. But people who have to go out and work everyday jobs in other industries, are facing size discrimination in terms of things like what their pay is like, or what their hiring process is like, or what their opportunities for advancement are like. So even as we see some shifts in the media, and especially in entertainment media, we still see a lot of actual civil rights violations against fat people. It's also important to note, though, that we did research at NAFA with researcher Pamela Mejia to look at the news media. And in the news media, in 2022, we saw about 18,000 articles that were related to fat and weight loss and health, but only around 200 articles that were related to fat and civil rights. So when we know that, for 54 years, folks have been coming to NAFA talking about the ways that legal discrimination affects them, not just the ways that interpersonal discrimination affects them.
Right.
Things like, are you body shamed? Does your family make fun of you?
Yeah, no, you're looking at institutions, you're looking at corporations, you're looking at a track record of this kind of discrimination. But I have to ask you, where is the line drawn? I mean, there are a lot of people, we all know somebody who would describe themselves as fat. We have people, it's like when you talk to your family, it's like, oh, I definitely have Republicans in my family. Oh, I definitely have Democrats in my family. But where do you draw the line? Because I've seen a lot of videos on social media. I've seen a lot of memes. There was a woman who was talking about how any form of intentional weight loss was fat phobic. And it seems a bit extreme to a lot of people watching that. What do you say to those who think this is a take on the extreme?
Well, I don't think protecting people's civil rights is extreme. I think protecting people's civil rights is necessary.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.